So a great story I once heard is about one of my favorite authors, Kurt Vonnegut, and check out some of his work. One of my favorite authors, wrote some of the great books of the last, 100 years, let's say. And he was at some party on Long Island, this place called Shelter Island. It was this billionaire's place, just like beautiful. You can kind of picture like the Great Gatsby, right? They're like on the Long Island Sound. Everything's extremely decadent. And he's hanging out with another famous American author. His name's John Heller. He wrote Catch-22, which is like literally one of the greatest American novels of all time. And they're sitting there, and Kurt looks around at this just like ostentatious environment, and he turns to Joseph and says, "This dude literally makes more in one day than you made on all your book sales for your great American novel, Catch-22. And Joseph turns to Kurt and he says, "Well, I have one thing this guy will never have." And Kurt goes, "What's that?" "Enough." And it's kind of crazy if you think about that. Like, what is enough? And what is that line, again, in the sand between, how much you should be saving on an annual basis, and on the flip side, just spending your money and not thinking about it to a point where it's foolish, where you have no savings at all. And I think this is where it comes down to a deeper level when it comes to money. Because when we start thinking about money, and people say money's the root of all evil, well, on the flip side, I'd say, not having money to some extent is the root of all evil, not being able to do what you want to do. But having that relationship with money that's healthy, because if we're honest about it, money can buy a lot of nice things. So what I think you need to do is you need to do an audit, a real hard audit of like how you're spending your life in general. Because money really is a reflection. If you go through those credit card bills, you go through the last couple months, it's a reflection of what you've just done with your life. But when you go back and you look at all those past expenses, you start to paint a picture of how you've been spending your time. Maybe you spend, money on Ubers, too many Ubers, throughout the week, over and over again, just spending on those Ubers when maybe if you're in New York City, you could just take the subway. It's a lot cheaper. You can get to the same places just as fast as getting in a car, sitting in traffic, because it felt more convenient at that time. But on the flip side, there's so many amazing things you can do with money, and you don't want to wait. You don't want to wait till you're 65 and you can't really physically enjoy things like you can right now. And start thinking about those things that you've done in the last year that were just amazing. Maybe you took your family on this vacation that was just so magical because you all connected on that vacation. You really got to know each other, and that costs money, but it was like a really, really good experience. And it probably, I would argue, enhanced your life in ways that you don't even think about consciously. Maybe because you went on that great vacation and you spent time with your family and friends. Maybe you went back to work after that rejuvenated and you came up with some new great ideas. And oddly enough, you actually ended up making more money. And you actually ended up, doing more things proactively to help your life and your business, whatever you do for a living. But that's where you have to really determine these things, because at the end of the day, it's okay to spend money. It's okay to enjoy, all the things that we can do in modern society, but it comes down to where is it helping you? And on the flip side, where is it actually a detriment, where it's actually bringing you down? So the point I want to make here is kind of counterintuitive, right? Because yes, it makes a lot of sense. Save all your money, save, save, save. But what happens when you get into that one type of focus? And I have friends like this, that's all they think about. All they think about is like hoarding that money, saving that money. They're always looking for like weird ways not to pay bills, or like, we'll go out to eat or something and they'll make sure they're the one not paying the bill. Can they save more and more money? And in a weird way, it actually becomes a detractor when you get to a point where you're so focused on saving money. And it might be weird coming from someone like me who's a financial planner or financial advisor saying that like you shouldn't save everything, because the reality of it is, if you're spending money in some circumstances, in a lot of circumstances, it's actually rejuvenating. But that's the honest question you have to ask yourself. Like, is this just you unconsciously in that frenetic energy, just buying things to get that instant gratification? Something we're very guilty of in America, right? We all love to like go out and spend because we think it's going to give us this instant pleasure, or maybe it's filling a void. You know what I'm talking about. Is that what the spending that you're spending is doing? Or on the other hand, is it actually an investment? Spending as an investment, which is kind of a weird concept. But again, maybe, like me, I've given this example a couple of times. I'm sitting here during a pandemic. I'm out in Los Angeles in the sunshine, and I'm spending more money because I have an apartment in New York that I'm still spending money on. But the rejuvenating aspect of it, the fact I'm here thinking creatively. I've started this YouTube channel. I'm talking to you right now. It's going to create more growth in my business. It's going to create more expansion, and I'm actually spending money right now. And counterintuitively, I'm actually happier because maybe I'm getting more vitamin D, and getting vitamin D, getting that sunshine is able to get my brain to fire on different levels that it wouldn't fire on if I was just sitting in the cold, locked up in my box of a Manhattan apartment with nobody around and, no creative energy flowing and no ways to creatively think. So these are the hard questions you have to ask yourself, and these things you have to really, really look. It's not really just about having a financial plan when you're thinking about saving. It's about having a life plan, how money can actually benefit you when you actually spend it, as opposed to just holding on to every single cent, every dollar and cent. We have an old saying, being penny wise, dollar foolish. And a lot of times when you don't spend that money, a lot of times when you're just hoarding that money, yes, you might be winning the battle, but you're not winning the war. And at the end of the day, you want to win the war. You want to win the game of life. You want to win at the game of enhancing yourself through this journey and experience it for all the things you can experience it for. And that takes money. It costs money, but that can also take you to other paradigms where you end up making more money. That's the crazy part about it. So we're going to talk more about reasons why you should save and put more money away. But I think the emphasis here is you have to start thinking about your expenses from the perspective of, are they good expenses? Or are they bad expenses? Or are these expenses helping me and pushing me further? Or are these expenses that are pushing me backwards in some sort of downward spiral? So that's my video for today. I hope you find this helpful, and I hope it gives you just a little bit better relationship with money. And we're going to go deeper in this journey. I promise you, way deeper. But if you like my content, you're into what I'm talking about, please slam on that like button. And as always, stay loose and keep an open mind.